Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football for the Clemson fans that follow the recruiting trail for this Clemson program. Y'all kind of know what weekend it is. It's that elite retreat weekend where Clemson pretty much grabbing every single one of their top targets, bringing them to campus over the next 24, 48 hours. And number one, the list is absolutely loaded. We're not even going to talk about close to every single one of these players on campus. I kind of picked my favorite 5 or 6 that I wanted to highlight, but I would not be surprised if we are doing some commitment episodes over the weekend at some point for Clemson. This is historically when Dabo Swinney likes to really turn it up on these guys and get them committed to this program. And so we're going to preview some of the names that'll be on campus. We will certainly be breaking down some commitments if and when they happen over the weekend. Fired up to get into it. Before we do, and as always, to the Clemson fans, appreciate you guys. It's no secret the boys are very high on this football team going into 2025. It's been a blast talking about them on the recruiting trail as well. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. I mean, for y'all who've been supporting the boys in the middle of March, talking high school recruiting, it means the world. Appreciate you guys. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Without further ado, let's get into it. I want to start the number one linebacker in Georgia, arguably the number one linebacker in the country, 5-star Tyler Atkinson. What intrigues me most about this recruitment is all the narrative, the whole narrative around Tyler Atkinson is he ain't leaving the state of Georgia. He's going to be playing for the Georgia Bulldogs. I remember very similar narrative around Sammy Brown 2 classes ago. Sammy Brown, number one kid in the state of Georgia, number one linebacker in the country. He ain't leaving the state. Well, he ended up going to Clemson and is having a very good start to his career at Clemson as well. What intrigues me the most about Tyler Atkinson is the Tom Allen effect. Because I look at Tyler Atkinson, it's one of the more impressive linebackers that you'll be seeing coming out of high school. 166 tackles his junior year, 32 tackles for loss, over 10 sacks. He's a versatile chess piece. Primarily plays off-ball linebacker, in which he's very, very good and extremely athletic, covers a lot of ground, is an absolute striker at the point of attack, but he's also really versatile and can come off the edge. And who did Tom Allen coach at Penn State that was also a really versatile second-level defender? Abdul Carter. And if you are Tyler Atkinson, you're looking at what Tom Allen did in that 1 year with Abdul Carter and said, Abdul Carter went from, he's a really good football player, one of the best linebackers in the country, and then kind of kicked him to edge, kicked him to this versatile chess piece role in 2024. Now we're talking about Abdul Carter being a top 5, top 10 NFL draft pick. If you're Tyler Atkinson, you're looking at that and saying, I think I might be able to do a similar thing that Abdul Carter does as well. Now, he's a little bit smaller than Abdul Carter, but his burst off the edge, rushing the passer, it's elite. He's going to do it at a high level at college. You want to go play for a defensive coordinator that's going to give you the opportunity to be that versatile chess piece and get maximized as a football player. We just saw Tom Allen do that with Abdul Carter. I would not be surprised if Tom Allen can give Clemson a real shot with a guy like Tyler Atkinson saying, hey, we're going to find the best spot for you, and we're really going to let you dominate football games. Kind of like we're hoping we see with Sammy Brown going into 2025. Number 2 on the list, Naheem Burrows. And this is a fascinating storyline where, Clemson went from legit wide receiver U to a program that was really struggling developing wide receivers for a short period of time. And now you fast forward into the month of March where we sit right now. We're talking about one of, if not the best, wide receiver room in the country going into the 2025 year. Can Clemson capitalize on that momentum when you have young guys like TJ Moore and Brian Wesco play the way they did as freshmen in 2024? That's really appealing to a lot of elite wide receivers across the country, because a lot of these wide receivers, they want to go get NIL money, but they also want to get on the football field early and play in productive offenses. There ain't many more attractive offenses for young wide receivers than Clemson going into 2025. I don't think even the most optimistic Clemson fans had that on their bingo card, but that's kind of where we're sitting right now. Can you use all that momentum in that 2024 year to go land some elite wide receivers in this 2026 class? Naheem Burrows, a guy that really excites me for a couple of different reasons. He's a little bit of a smaller wide receiver, but he's got some elite traits. And it starts with the straight line speed, 10-6 in the 100-meter dash. Now, this guy absolutely cooks vertically down the football field. And I think what stands out to me about Naheem Burrows is that's probably not even the best asset, the best trait that he brings to his future college football program, because the short area quicks, his ability to separate and make people miss and be dynamic with the football in his hands, it's special. And so when you combine that straight line speed that Naheem Burrows certainly has with elite short area quicks and that ability to make people miss and that ability to separate in your route tree, that's what you want in your wide receivers. And Naheem Burrows has that in a very big time way. We'll see if Clemson can kind of get some inroads here. Kind of reminds you of, TJ Moore, Tampa area, Jacksonville area, Florida, kind of the lead dog in this race. Clemson got it done for TJ Moore. We'll see if we can get it done for Naheem Burrows. Number 3 on the list, Darius Gray. And this one seems like Darius Gray's got offers from everywhere. He's one of the more impressive, refined offensive linemen that you see in this 2026 class. It very well might come down to Clemson and South Carolina. And we see this happen a lot. Darius Gray is really impressive. And it starts with just a physical frame. 6'3", 285, looks closer to 300 pounds on the junior year film, 34-inch arms. So you're talking about a guy that's only 6'3", but is longer than most tackles. And so he plays with good leverage, but has a lot of length in the arms. That's the ideal frame that you want with an offensive lineman. And then secondly, he's a freaky athlete because he's a two-way player. He plays defensive line too, and he could play defensive line at college football if he wanted to. Really, really impressive first step off the defensive line. Really good athlete, getting some penetration. And that carries over to the offensive side of the football where, yeah, he's really, really strong at the point of attack. That's probably his best asset is I just move bodies off the line of scrimmage. I can pull play side. I can go climb up to the second level and go pick up linebackers and safeties. This is, to me, just a blue chip offensive lineman that's going to play early. And that's big for Clemson because you look at Clemson, they're probably going to lose, 4 offensive linemen from that starting unit after the 2025 year. You're going to have a lot of playing time for young players in the 2026 year. Darius Gray could be one of those freshmen that comes in and finds a starting role immediately in 2026. Going to number 4, Bryce Perry-Wright. Kind of reminds you of a guy like Edric Houston who came out of Buford 2 classes ago, or maybe even reminds you a little bit of a guy like Peter Woods. Because what was the conversation that we had with Peter Woods was a little bit of a tweener, right? 6'3", 270 coming out of high school. He ain't no tweener anymore. He's up to 315 pounds. But you kind of say the same thing about a guy like Bryce Perry, right? Where he's not the biggest interior defensive lineman, and he plays all over the defensive line at the high school level, very similar to Peter Woods, but probably will factor in the most on the inside playing that 3 tech. The play strength's there. I mean, for 6'2", 240, he's not that big of a cat. He does not struggle at the point of attack. But what really separates him and kind of makes him one of those more elite guys in this class is he's such a good athlete that these interior offensive linemen, they just can't deal with him. And so he has the play strength to hold up on the inside, and that's only going to get better as he puts on a little bit more weight. But man, the twitch, the first step athleticism, especially for some of those bigger guards, it's a problem for them. And so I look at Bryce Perry, right, and say very similar maybe trajectory as a guy like Peter Woods. And again, if you're Clemson, that's what you're selling. We took a very similar guy a couple classes ago in Peter Woods, who, was kind of talked about in a very similar way that you were talked about. And we made him one of the best defensive linemen in the country. You want to use that on the recruiting trail here with Bryce Perry, right? Going to number 5, Grant Wise. This is a Clemson guy through and through. The recruiting ranking isn't crazy, although he's a top 200 kid, according to the composite. 6'3", 310. He's not a big guy. He's probably shorter in the arms. He's not going to have a massive, massive frame. He's a freaky dude in the weight room. And Clemson loves these guys. Going back to a guy like Sammy Brown, it's exactly how we talked about him. And when I say freaky in the weight room, I'm talking about like a 285-pound snatch talking about a 415-pound bench going into his senior year. I mean, he would immediately come to Clemson and be one of the strongest football players on this team as a kid that's going into his senior year of high school. Loves the weight room. And I don't know him personally, so I don't want to talk too much about him personally. But doing some digging on Graham Wise and watching a little bit of the film, this is the kind of guy that Dabo Swinney loves bringing into the program. And I would love to add a guy like Graham Wise because he's about the right things. And he's going to try to maximize what and who he can be as a football player. Could play center, could play guard. Plays tackle at high school, probably won't play tackle at the high school or at the college level. Last one on the list, Samari Matthews, and a guy that we might see a commitment from this weekend. 6 foot, 180-pound cornerback. Looks long in the arms. I don't have an arm length measurement on him, but he looks really long, and he's a really fluid mover, and he is wired the right way to play cornerback. You see him talk a little bit on the football field. He wants to play press man coverage and put his hands on opposing wide receivers. That's important when you're playing cornerback. You want guys wired the right way. And Samari Matthews is that kind of guy. And I'll give Clemson all the credit in the world. I think they are one of the best evaluators of defensive backs that you see in the country. They routinely bring in guys that might even not be the highest ranked guys according to these recruiting services. They come in, play immediately very good football. Samari Matthews is one of those guys that can come in, and I would not be surprised if he plays very good football early for Clemson over the next couple of years, and he might be committing this weekend. We will see how that plays out. Really big weekend for Clemson on the recruiting trail. Hope to be talking about some commitments over the next couple of days. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel, and we'll talk to y'all later.